The late afternoon air was crisp and cold. October was nearing its end, and the sun was already dipping below the horizon. Emily, bundled up in a thick coat, hurried along the forest path. She was running late. She had stayed too long at the library, engrossed in a book. Now she was faced with a choice: the long way around the Whispering Woods, or the shortcut directly through it. It would save her at least an hour. Logic warred with local law. Everyone knew the stories about the Whispering Woods. People disappeared. Some said the woods were haunted. Emily shook her head, banishing the thoughts. They were just stories. She would be quick, stick to the path, and be home before nightfall. Taking a deep breath, Emily stepped onto the path that led into the woods. Almost immediately, the forest felt different. The air grew colder, damper. The last rays of sunlight struggled to penetrate the thick canopy of leaves, casting long, eerie shadows. An unsettling silence hung in the air. No birds sang, no insects chirped. Emily resumed walking, trying to ignore the oppressive atmosphere. Her footsteps seemed to echo unnaturally loud in the stillness. Then she heard it, the distinct sound of footsteps behind her, matching her pace. Her heart leaped into her throat. She stopped again, holding her breath, listening. The footsteps stopped too. She whirled around, but there was nothing behind her. "Just your imagination," she whispered to herself, her voice trembling slightly. She started walking again, faster this time, her senses on high alert. The footsteps returned, closer now, keeping pace with hers. Panic welled up in her chest. She broke into a run, her lungs burning, her legs screaming in protest. Emily. A voice soft and low, like a breath of wind through the trees, whispered her name. It seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. She didn't slow down. She couldn't. The voice, faint but distinct, continued to whisper her name, each utterance sending shivers down her spine. "Emily, come closer, Emily. We've been waiting for you." The whispers grew louder, weaving around her like ghostly fingers. They were laced with an unnatural longing that chilled her to the bone. Section 4. Hunted. Emily swerved, her foot catching on a root. She crashed to the ground, the breath knocked out of her. Scrambling back, she looked up to see the ghostly figure gliding towards her, her eyes burning with an eerie light. Panic surged through her, raw and consuming. She scrambled to her feet and ran, her only thought escape. The woods seemed to conspire against her. Branches reached out like skeletal arms, trying to snag her clothes, trip her up. Thorns tore at her skin, but she didn't stop. She couldn't let it catch her. The whispers followed her, urging her on, taunting her. "You can't escape, Emily. You're ours now." Section 5. Found, but broken. Emily collapsed on the side of the road, her chest heaving, her body racked with sobs. She lay there for what felt like an eternity, the terror slowly receding, leaving behind a cold, hollow ache. When she finally got to her feet, it was dark. She stumbled towards the lights of the village, her mind numb. They found her at the edge of town, babbling incoherently about voices in the woods and a woman with eyes like empty sockets. They took her home, tried to make sense of her rambling, but her words were jumbled, disjointed. All that was clear was the terror that clung to her like a shroud. Emily never fully recovered from her ordeal. She remained haunted by the whispers in the woods and the memory of the ghostly figure. The Whispering Woods keeps its secrets,